Welcome. I'm so excited you're all here for our candle experience today. Yes, it's very similar to a wine tasting or something like that, but obviously we're not tasting, so we're going to try a lot of different scents. I think the main difference between a candle experience and a wine tasting is you can actually clear your palate for taste much easier than you can clear scents out of the room or out of your nose. So we may have to take this at a very leisurely pace so that you can really experience all of the different smells. Okay? Does that sound good? Does everyone have something to drink if they want it? Okay. So today we are going to be smelling just really our top shelf black label candles. You have our extensive list of candles, so if there's anything you particularly want to smell, we can get that. We do have the showroom where we have almost everything available. If not, I should have it in the back. So some of our more seasonal scents are not always available, but they are always available online or to be shipped to you. So we are happy to make one of our scents for you at any time if you have one that you really fall in love with. Okay, but we're going to be trying sort of the cream of the crop right now, the ones with the most complex scents. So you really get a good example of some of our best candles. So I just want to start off by talking a little bit about the history of candles, and then we'll go right into smelling the first candle. Okay? So, for hundreds of years, fire's been used as a source of warmth and light. Out of necessity, candles were created to gain control of the fire and solve the heat and illumination problems. They were simplistic, made of wax, tallow, or paraffin, with a fiber wick running through the middle. They can be found in nearly every society and have been used since ancient times in mankind's rituals and rites of passage, including those pertaining to the dead and ghosts. Although the origin of candles is unknown, earliest evidence of candles dates back to 4th century BC in Egypt and Crete, where they were used to repel evil spirits through religious ceremonies. Traveling candle makers went door to door, giving candle making demonstrations in the 13th century, and the first candle molds were used in the 15th century in Paris. The 1800s brought us the renaissance of candle making, and not much has changed, although molds and products have improved. Okay, and I'll talk more about history and any questions that you may have. Do not hesitate to ask, okay? I'm happy to give you any information. It's fun for me to talk about candles, so let me know anything that you'd like to know, and I'll tell also as a chance to sort of let our noses clear. So we're going to jump right in now so we can get through all of these candles. The very first candle we're going to start with is called Earthquake. The reason it's called Earthquake is because the top note just explodes with delicious shavings of nutmeg, ginger, allspice, and cinnamon leaf. In the heart, sugary dried figs come together with juicy white grapes, and there's sweeps of powdery honey swirled with vanilla glaze over creamy tapioca to complete this heavenly indulgence. Alright, so you all have an earthquake candle in front of you, and I'm going to have you start by just taking off the top. And I just want you to put your nose about an inch above the candle and take a whiff. Now you can put your nose closer into the candle if you'd like. What do you think? Can you smell all of those different scents? Alright, and now I'm not going to have you each light them, but I have one here and I'm going to light this. And then we're going to pass it around. Now, as you can see here, even though this is a new candle, I have cut the wick down to about 1/4 of an inch, which helps to keep the candle from sputtering, and it also keeps out the ash from the candle itself. So now I want you to pass that around as the wax is starting to get warmed up. Be careful, don't burn your nose, don't burn your nose hairs, don't burn your hair, don't burn your eyebrows. So you really want to smell from the side. Okay, now the wax is getting nice and melted. So we'll pass this around. Now I'm not going to burn all of these, again, because we don't want the entire room to smell of one particular scent. But I want you to see how the scent is slightly different when it's burned than when it's just, when you smell it by itself. So heating up the scents changes the scent profile a little bit. Okay, did everybody get a chance to smell that? And hopefully you didn't smell the smoke or ash too much because I cut down the wick. You want to do that anytime you're going to light your candle. If you notice that your wick is longer than 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, you want to cut it with a pair of scissors so that you don't get a lot of ash in the candle and so you don't get a lot of smoke. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to blow that one out. Okay. And you can smell that a bit around the room too. Okay. And I ask you all to put your tops back on the candle. Okay. So that, again, these are very, very fragrant. So we want to make sure that if we have them sitting open, we may be able to smell that candle instead of the one we're trying to smell. Okay. So I think we can move right on to the next candle. Does anybody feel like their nose is already too full? And in front of you, I have, you all have a piece of paper where I want you to grade the candles a bit. It's often hard when you do experiences like this to remember the ones in the beginning and what you thought about them. So you'll know if you gave it, a 9 out of 10, that it's when you should come back and smell again. Okay. Are you ready for the next one? Okay. So the next one we're going to smell is called the Manhattan. It's an enticing combination of orchids and fresh carnation, and those are blended with a touch of cumin and bergamot. It's got a soothing quality because it includes jasmine and fennel in the heart, and it also has sweet scents of the Madagascar vanilla bean, among the earthy feel of patchouli, amber, and musk to complete this exotic blend. It's got a lot going on, so we're going to do a couple of different smells. So this one, actually, I want you to start a bit farther away. Yeah, let me talk a little bit about scent throws before we smell this. Okay, so we're going to talk about first the cold throw. This is how the candle smells before it is lit. This is the first whiff you get of the candle when you open the lid. And the second term is called hot throw, and this is how the candle smells when it is lit, and the radius of the candle's scent. So how far you can stand away from it and still smell it. So this is something we're gonna test out for this one. The last one we just sort of passed it around, but this one I'm just going to set it in front of me and allow you to smell it around the table. And you can even step back from the table if you want to see how far you can smell it. So many of the candles on the market today have a throw of about 5 feet. Yeah, I'm sure you've kind of had that experience where you basically had to put your nose into the candle before you could smell it, even when it was burning. But our throw is really profound. It results from the liquefaction of at least 1/2 inch of wax. So that's better known as the melt pool of wax. And it's from edge to edge of the candle, so it releases as many scent molecules as possible into the air of a room in which the candle is being burned. For all of our candles, that means that if you light up a candle in the kitchen, you will more than likely be able to smell that candle when you walk in the front door of your house. So I'm actually going to, before you open your candle, I'm going to open this large one that's in front of me. You guys all have little votives, but of the Manhattan, I have a 16 ounce. And I'm going to light this one. Okay, so I'm going to let that one burn. And now you can open up your candles, because we've got to let this burn for a little bit so that the wax melts, and so you can smell. Now try how far away from the candle after it's open you can smell it. Pretty far away, huh? Yeah, again, we have a really robust smell. Again, it's the difference between an inexpensive, a pharmacy candle and really handmade candles. Again, there's nothing wrong with the inexpensive ones, but in terms of smell and in terms of length of burn, you really do get what you pay for. So if you want a candle that's really going to scent your whole house and that is going to burn for a long time, it's worth investing a little bit more money. And again, it's only a little bit more money. We don't charge a fortune for our candles as it is. Okay, so everybody had a smell of that. So now I want you to close up your candles. And I'm actually going to pass around. I have some freshly ground coffee. This is really the best way to refresh your nose. It's a strong scent, but it's very discernible, so you know when you're smelling coffee versus something else. So this is actually Pete's coffee. This is what I drink, and I just ground it before you came in. So this is a French roast. So when we're done, I can make everyone coffee if you'd like it. And I like this because it's really a bold and smoky taste. So just pass this around. Have a good smell. I love the smell of coffee. I actually like the smell of coffee better than I like the taste of coffee. Okay. I'm having you do that because by now this candle has burned enough so that you should be able to smell the hot throw. So I want, if you really want to test it, get up from your seat, step about 5 feet back from the table, 5-6 feet, and start walking towards the table slowly. And really, you can close your eyes if you feel like you won't trip. Really take some deep breaths and see when you can smell this candle. See, it could be pretty far away. And again, this has really just started burning. So the longer it burns and the more wax there is, the scent will be even stronger. Isn't that great? Okay. I'm gonna blow this out. I love the smell of this one. Okay. And now I'm gonna pass the coffee around again. Yeah, just because the room's gonna smell a little bit like this candle now. So just pass that around. And I'm gonna put the top on to this candle. And I'm just gonna talk a little bit more, just to kind of give your nose a chance to clear out and give the room a chance to clear out the smell before we move on to the next one. So when you buy a candle from a company like ours, for the most part, anytime you order online, we have this little showroom, but almost all of our candles are made based on your order. So we are not pulling anything off the shelf. It's all made fresh for you. So once a candle is poured, is set up, it looks finished, but there are still changes that happen within the molecular structure of that candle. And the wax and fragrance need time to bond to each other and fully transform. So just like fine wine, candles get better with age, and our candles get stronger with age. So if you have a candle you find in the closet, as long as it's still got the lid on and it hasn't gotten all dusty and gross, it's probably going to smell better than it did when you bought it, if it's a good quality candle. So we recommend a minimum of 3 days of cure time for our candles. So you just want to make sure if you order it from us on Monday, we're going to pour it on Tuesday. And then we're going to send it out right away so that it gets to you right away, but you want to make sure that you let it sit until at least Friday. Does that make sense? for maximum performance. I mean, obviously you can burn it and there won't be any problems. It's not dangerous in any way, but it's not going to smell as good until Friday. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for the coffee back. So is everybody ready for the next candle? Okay. Now after as complicated as the Manhattan was, we're going to have a more real basic candle for you. This is called the Bonsai, and it's the smell of Japanese rice pudding garnished with vanilla blossoms. And so it's just a slightly different twist on a vanilla candle. So if you want to open that up. Yeah, it's really just a beautiful, simple scent. I'm not going to burn that one because I think we still have a little bit of the Manhattan in the room. So we'll let that clear out and you can really get a good sense of this one by just smelling it cold. Okay. And then the next one we're going to try it's a really fun one. It's called the Mojito. It's got fantastically fresh green notes and citrus splashes of grapefruit are mixed with sweet fruity scents of loganberries. A subtle detection of cassius and vanilla are the perfect finishing touches for this pleasurable fragrance. Okay. Now you want to open that one up. Have a good smell. Beautiful. Now let me know if you think you need the coffee again. But I'm going to just take a little break and see if you guys have any questions. Triple scented. Okay. So this just goes back to something I talked about earlier. If you've read that our candles are triple scented, it means that you're getting the highest level of fragrance that the wax will allow. So we use 3 times the industry standard. Anything beyond that, and the wax can't really hold it. So we've sort of pushed it to the limits to give you the most scent that you can without wasting any of the fragrance. And it's just one thing that sets us apart. Yeah, there's a typical fragrance contains 30 to more than 200 different ingredients in an infinitely variable proportions. And the key to amazing fragrance is the perfect combination of top notes, middle notes, and base notes. So you may have heard this with perfumes as well, that there's different qualities to the scent. So the top note is the first impression, and this is on the piece of paper that I gave you too. So as you start learning more about smelling candles, you may be able to pick out some of these different fragrances. So it's the first impression you get, and it's the fragrance the customers notice when they first open the candle. The middle note is the heart and soul of the fragrance. So you'll see when I'm describing these, I'm talking about things that are at the heart. It's most prominent after the top note recedes. So the more you smell it, the more you're going to get the middle note. And this is what you experience when the candle is burning a little bit more. That's why I'm having you test the burn a little bit more, especially in some of these more complicated candles. And any of the ones that we don't burn, that you would like me to burn, I have them all. I have testers of all of these. So if you'd like to smell them burning as well, happy to do that. And then there's the base note. And this is the note with tenacity. So this is the lingering scent. So even after the candle is extinguished, this is the scent that will remain in your house. And obviously that's really important too. You don't want a smell of smoke or ash. You want to have a nice lingering scent even after the candle's extinguished. Okay. So are you ready for the next one? Okay. So this one is the Godfather. It's an appealing mix of clove, cardamom, ginger, mace, cinnamon, and nutmeg, and it's blended with the strong and true scent of pumpkin. A background of vanilla is the finishing touch to this perfectly blended scent. I think you guys will really like this. It's just a really comforting, scent. It really reminds me of fall. And again, sort of that smell of a kind of a grandfather or again a godfather, like their jacket with, one of those family members who always had candy for you. And just always smelled really nice. That sort of Old Spice smell, but then with the pumpkin undertones. Okay, does anybody want the coffee? I love the smell of that too. Okay, you ready? Okay. The next one is called it's called Salty Dog. This one has apple, citrus, spice, and pumpkin notes, and it melts into a really fabulous fall blend. Every time you sniff this fragrance, you may smell something different. And if you want the coffee, this one is somewhat similar to Godfather, so if you're having trouble distinguishing them, I'm happy to give you the coffee to kind of clear out the Godfather. It's one of the reasons I didn't burn the Godfather as well, even though it's a really complex scent. It's similar to Salty Dog. Isn't that nice? Okay, so let's do one more, and I'm going to burn this one. So this is a very complex fragrance. This is called 007, and it's hard to describe. So it's very sophisticated, upscale, and spa-like. It's not floral in a heavy way and not perfumey in an overwhelming way. It's just beautiful. So let's see. I'm gonna just burn this one a little bit, and then we can talk while we let there we go. Just light this one. Let this one burn. Okay. Alright, so let's talk about how candles work. They are really an amazing lighting system. The fuel itself is the package. There are two parts that work together in a candle. The fuel, which is made of some sort of wax, and the wick, which is made of some sort of absorbent twine. The wick needs to be naturally absorbent, like a towel, or it needs to have a strong capillary action, as in a glass fiber wick that's used in an oil lamp. If you buy a length of unwaxed wick at a craft store and play with it, you'll find that it feels like soft string and it absorbs water very well. This absorbency is important in a candle because the wick needs to absorb liquid wax and move it upwards while the candle is burning. Paraffin wax is a heavy hydrocarbon that comes from crude oil. When you light a candle, you melt the wax in and near the wick. The wick absorbs the liquid wax and pulls it upwards. The heat of the flame vaporizes the wax, and it's the wax vapor that burns. Yeah. You can prove that it's wax vapor rather than liquid wax that's burning with two experiments. If you place one end of a metal or glass tube shaped like a thin straw into a candle's flame at a 45-degree angle, you can then light the upper end of the tube. Paraffin vapor flows up the tube and it becomes a fuel for this second flame. Yeah, so be careful you don't hold it at the end because it'll start burning and it'll get hot. When you blow out a candle, you notice a stream of white smoke leaving the wick. This stream is paraffin vapor that is condensed into visible form. It continues to form as long as the wick is hot enough to vaporize paraffin. And if you touch a lit match to the stream, a flame will run down it and relight the wick. The reason the wick does not burn is because the vaporizing wax cools the exposed wick and protects it. You may have seen the camping trick of boiling water in a paper cup. The cup does not burn because the water inside cools it. The liquid wax does the same thing for the wick. Paraffin wax will burn on its own, but it's like cooking oil, motor oil, and coal in that you have to get it very hot for combustion to begin. An oil fire is intense and very hard to put out. Paraffin is the same way. In a candle, this works great, only the tiny amount of wax on the wick is hot enough to vaporize and burn. So the 007's probably been burning long enough. Can you guys all smell it? Now, do you notice the smell is any different than when you smelled it cold? Can you notice those sort of middle notes? It's hard. It's hard to notice the difference. So don't feel bad if you can't. We basically just want you to enjoy the scent. You don't need to be able to smell every component in there. It's just the more complex the fragrance, it's often more interesting. Okay. All right, so I'm going to blow this out. Okay. And let's pass around the coffee again. Okay. You guys all having a good time? Does anybody need more to drink or anything? Okay. I know. We take a long time because we want to make sure that we're not rushing you from one scent to the next. It's very hard to smell things one right after another very quickly. Sorry, I'm having a sip of water since I've been talking so much. Okay. So the next one is one of my favorites. So this is called the Harvey Wallbanger. It's a mouth-watering blend of rich maple and velvety vanilla with notes of sweet orange combining with cinnamon, clove, and hints of coconut. Maple, vanilla, anise, coumarin, and myrrh all add to the richness of this fragrance. yeah, you can almost get a toothache just smelling it. If you like sweets, you will absolutely love this one. It's very strong and very unique. I love really sweet scents, and I love food type smells in my candle. So I love anything that smells like a cookie. They've actually shown that sometimes having the smell of something sweet prevents you from eating something sweet. So I consider this one my diet aid because it smells like I've already had a cookie, and so I don't feel like I need to go have a cookie. Yeah. You guys like that one too? Okay. Alright. So put the top back on that. And we'll move on to one more. And then I'll talk a little bit more, kind of let you air your nose out. The next one is the tuxedo. It's a harmonious composition of precious woods and the warmth of freshly ground nutmeg, balanced with exotic musk and fresh blooming ylang blossoms. I think this one smells a lot like a really complex perfume. They use a lot of sort of woody, musky notes and then florals often together in perfumes, and really good perfumes. So that's what I think this one smells like. Any other questions? Well, we use a special secret paraffin blend of wax, which almost has the consistency of Crisco. It's a really creamy blend of wax, and it has many advantages, one being the amount of fragrance we can add to this wax. It has a very high fragrance load, which makes for extremely high scented candles. So we can do the triple scenting. Softer wax also makes a more strongly scented candle, so we make it really soft for that reason as well. Yeah, the soft wax, the scent molecules bind to the wax better and are easily released during burning and making a very fragrant candle. Soft container wax also has a much higher oil content, making a longer burning candle. So when you purchase a candle from us, we guarantee that you'll have no wax hang up on the side of your jars. You'll get a complete highly scented burn all the way through to the bottom. God, doesn't that drive you crazy? I can't stand when I have a candle that I like, and I feel like I have all this extra wax that I'm just never going to be able to burn. Yeah, I've tried, sort of tilting the candle. It just doesn't work. Like, it either just burns all the way or it doesn't. So we guarantee that it will. You'll get a complete, highly scented burn all the way. Yeah, it makes a candle unlike any candle you've had before. Okay, let's try the next one. So this one is called Alabama Slamma. It's a scrumptious, highly complex accord beginning with top notes of pumpkin and lemon, with middle notes of champagne, grapes, nutmeg, and smoked cinnamon, and it's rounded out with base notes of vanilla, tea leaves, and hickory. It is a really complex scent. This is one where if you like this, come to me afterwards and I'll burn it for you, because the scents pop out even more when it's burnt. So if this is one you love, yeah, I'm happy to burn it for you, but we still have sort of the scent of the 007. So, what do you guys think about that one? Make sure to make notes so that it also kind of is a nice memento of the experience. And it'll help you, if you're smelling you'll never smell candles the same way again. It's almost like a master class in candles. So it'll really give, you the experience of smelling for additional fragrances. Okay, you ready for the next one? So this one is called the Singapore Sling. Its fragrance begins with top notes of candied lime, lemon syrup, and bergamot extract, followed by middle notes of poppy seed muffin, brown sugar, and clove bud. It sits on base notes of marshmallow fluff, vanilla cake batter, and white musk. It's absolutely scrumptious. This is another one where, again, I feel like I've broken my diet just by smelling it. But the nice thing is it really does keep you from eating sweets sometimes, just having that smell. So much of food is the smell as it is. So I think we get some of the enjoyment just from smelling it. Unless you have marshmallow fluff, vanilla cake batter in your house, because you may need to run and eat it. It might remind you how badly you want it. Okay, let's pass around the coffee again. Again, your noses are probably starting to get a little worn out. So let's make sure to give it a little break. And I'm going to talk a little bit more. Okay, so a few myths out there. Do scented candles emit dangerous amounts of toxic pollutants into the air? And this is one that's been going around for a while. A properly burning candle produces water vapor and carbon dioxide. It's the same material that you inhale when you breathe. Millions of Americans who use scented candles have positive responses to them, but there are a small handful of consumers who may have negative responses and should avoid burning candles with that particular scent, and be sure to use candles in a well-ventilated area. So if you have really bad allergies or asthma, you may still be able to burn candles, but you want to be very careful with it. You want to know your limits, and you especially want to be very careful with our candles because they are so highly scented. So you may, in many ways, even be better off just having a candle that you don't burn that much, that you just open and let the cold notes, the cold throw scent an area. But again, most people are not going to have this issue. But if you have really bad asthma or allergies, just you want to be really careful. We asked you all that before you came in here, so I know none of you do. But if you're buying candles as gifts, you just want to be careful. You don't give them to somebody that it's going to bother their allergies or asthma. Yeah, we talked about trimming the wick. The charred wick end is called snuff. So when you've burnt the wick, you may get this little black end. There's a scissor-like instrument that's used to remove this char or trim the wick, and it's referred to as a snuffer. It's a special kind of scissors, so that the wick won't fall back into the candle. A candle extinguisher, which again we often call extinguisher snuffers. They're not. Snuffers are the candles. The extinguisher is a cone-shaped cap at the end of a rod that you can use to cut off the oxygen to a candle so that it won't burn anymore. If you don't want to blow it out. Now there are several other ways to trim a wick. The most popular way is with a pair of scissors or nail clippers. The nail clippers are nice because if you keep it closed, it's not going to fall back into the candle. With scissors, it's really easy to have it fall back into the candle. If you don't mind washing your hands before relighting a solidified candle, you can simply reach into the jar and twist the wick. The charred end is going to come off in your hand. Obviously, that doesn't work when you first get the candle. As a safety precaution, make sure that all wick trimmings and all other foreign material are removed from the jar. Okay. All right, let's move on. So the next candle you have is called the Brandy Alexander. This has a fresh men's tobacco flower cologne. Its fragrance captures both a modern and timeless masculine appeal. It's scented with sun-kissed vines and ripening olives. Includes top notes of French bergamot, orange flower, ivy, a heart comprised of tobacco flower, black currant, linden flower, with a dry down of eucalyptus, elderwood, and mint leaf. So this is for those of you who really don't like that flowery scent and you want something a bit more musky and masculine. Yeah, I really like this one. I'm always really surprised by how much I like this one. Because I always think that I like a more flowery and sweet scent. And this is not very sweet, but it really is just a beautiful, beautiful scent. Yeah, and it's nice when you can kind of pick out those subtle notes of like the mint or the eucalyptus. You start to feel like a real candle aficionado. Okay. And the next one is called Sidecar Annie. So this is another really complex fragrance. It's got top notes of herbaceous tobacco leaf, followed by a touch of sweet honey, and finishing with a smoky, leathery cedar wood, fresh cherry wood, and vanilla bean. It's masculine, refreshing, and soothing. It's very complex and memory invoking. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it smells very different, but it's a similar kind of masculine scent to the Brandy Alexander. Mm-hmm. Okay, and now I'm going to burn the next one, so let me light that. Okay, so this one is called Between the Sheets, and it's a very complex one, so that's why I'm going to burn it. The beginning base notes, so what you'll smell when you just open it up, are of white carnation and blood orange, and they're the perfect combination for heart notes of sandalwood, black rose, smoky wood, and just a kiss of patchouli. The top notes give a hint of toasted vanilla bean and whiffs of vetiver, amber, and the tiniest touch of Egyptian musk for a sexy, complex finish to this outstanding fragrance. Yeah, even if you don't think you like musk or patchouli, try it. Yeah, the musk is really, it's really subtle. And same with the patchouli. And I want you to smell this as it burns too. This is really a beautiful scent. Actually, no, it's a common misunderstanding. If you leave your candle jar uncovered, it won't lose its fragrance. Candle is a solid, not a liquid. Most liquids will lose their fragrance if left uncovered, like perfumes. But because the wax is a solid and we thoroughly mix our fragrances with the wax, the fragrance is captured within the very structure of the candle and releases the powerful fragrance upon the wax liquefying through melting. Yeah, occasionally a customer will drop one of our candles and shatter the glass, and it kind of gives us the opportunity to prove that our candles are scented throughout the candle. It's not just at the surface. So, yeah, if you're not buying high quality candles, you may find that you can't smell the candle anymore as it burns. It's because they're not mixing it all the way through. Yeah, it's not because you left it open. Alright. So, what did you guys think about Between the Sheets? Alright, I'm going to blow this out. Yeah, not a bad one to have in your bedroom. Okay, let me pass around the coffee one more time. And we have our very last candle for you. Thank you guys all for being so patient. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but again, we do need to take a lot of time with it. So, I appreciate you all staying with me. And again, any of these that you really like, that you would like me to burn for you, or that you would like to smell again, you have all the ones in front of you. Feel free to smell again the ones that you really liked. And then, as you saw, we have a really extensive list of candles. Yeah, you have the list in front of you. But I couldn't read through all of them for you. The prices are in there as well. Again, it's very reasonable. Our 16-ounce jar is basically our most expensive candle, our most popular, and that's $12.75. So, again, very reasonable. Yeah, there's plenty to choose from. So, again, and we have a lot of these more complex ones as well. I just kind of gave you the cream of the crop, but there's Amish quilt, angel food cake, Hawaiian hula muffin, Goldilocks, marshmallow campfire. I mean, pretty much anything you can imagine. So obviously we're not going to have all of these out on the floor because we could fill a warehouse, and we want you to be able to kind of have them specially made for you. So we have a good selection here, and so you can get a good idea of what the different scents are like. But we do order and ship anything that you're interested in. So it's fun often to choose different scents and be pleasantly surprised when you get home. Okay, the final candle that we have is called Golden Cadillac. This is a creamy vanilla, and it warms up this amazing fragrance. While the heady spices are divine and comforting, it's a really delectable blend. It's got base notes of sweet berry, caramel, root berry, creamy French vanilla bean, and a warm, spicy nutmeg, and it balances out this amazingly complex but very familiar smelling fragrance. Again, it just smells like the comforts of home. It smells like things cooking in the kitchen, and it's just a really nice, relaxing scent. Does everybody have a smell of that? We do have a lot of accessories here as well. If you want a burner for one of our tarts. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. I'll be right here. If you have any questions about anything in the gift shop and the showroom, if you would like anything to be burnt so you can smell those notes, if you have any questions that I haven't yet answered, I'm happy to help you. Well, thanks so much. This has been a lot of fun. All right. Sure, just pull me aside. Okay. Thank you all. Bye.